Doward here. Gosh, it seems like forever since I've actually gotten some new video. Gonna be doing some work on the FXR today. What are we gonna be doing? Gonna be installing this YOST Performance Master Kit onto my stock CV40. I'm gonna walk you guys through removing the carburetor and rebuilding it. Now, since I know I'm going to be working on the carburetor and taking the carburetor out, I want to drain that fuel bowl. So what I like to do is here on your petcock, turn it off, go ahead and fire the bike up and just let it idle until it dies. Now in my case, I've got what I think is the stock air cleaner, but I know I have a Keihin air filter in there. So I'm going to take the center bolt loose. Set the cover off to the side, try not to scratch that pretty chrome. Grab your 1/2-inch wrench and put it back. So in my case, these 3 bolts are actually 11mm. Remove these. Now, of course, remember your pipes are going to be a little bit warm from you having fired it up and letting it burn that fuel down in the carburetor, so don't go touching the pipes. Oh boy, and I have oil here. Hopefully you can see this. And oil on the bottom of this. This looks to be a oil breather tube of some kind here. Let me go get a rag. Alright, so it seems to me that in a future adventure I will be installing some sort of a catch can here to catch this oil instead of letting it get sucked up. Alright, now that we've got this apart, there's a bolt up here, there's a bolt back here that we can go ahead and take out, which I believe are 1/2-inch bolts. And I'm just using the air cleaner cover. I'm just turned it upside down as a bowl and I'm throwing all my bolts in there. Now at this point, the easiest thing to do is go ahead and disconnect the choke from the other side. Now in my case with the FXR, it's easier if I go ahead and undo the tank and lift it slightly out the way. So what I'm going to do is just break the front loose, and then I'm going to take my 2 bolts out from underneath. Now the FXR is an interesting beast because the seat actually folds up. So what I'm going to do is take the thumb screw out from the back. You undo your thumb screw, and you may have an actual bolt there. And there's supposed to be, my understanding is a latch here, which I don't have the latch, but I do at least have the hinge. There's also supposed to be, I think, some sort of strap here. I'm going to have a leather strap made for it. Just something kind of interesting. Just going to set the bolt back in here. And these are the tank bolts I was talking about. So I'm going to take both of those out, and at this point I'll be able to lift the back of this tank up a little bit. The idea is to lift it up just enough to let me get back here and break this nut on the back of the choke knob loose so that I can pull the choke cable up and take it out with the carburetor. It's much, much easier that way. Alright, so all I did is I used a pair of pliers just to break the nut loose on the back of it, and then once I broke it loose, I just undid it by hand. Lift it straight up, out. At this point, yeah, my choke is loose. And get this breather hose out the way. Yeah, that is so going to need to be changed. The interesting thing about these carbs is they just push into place. So to pull them out, you just work it out. Just like that. And of course you're going to need to pull your, you're going to need to get back here and take your fuel line off, which mine has a, what appears to be too big of a clamp, trying to clamp it down. So I'll be fixing that as this goes back together. Alright, there's that out the way. Oil cable, and I don't remember what that thing's called, the Voice or something. I don't know, some kind of vacuum operated system. In my case, it's stuck on, that hose is stuck on it pretty good, so just going to use a pair of pliers to kind of push it out the way. There we go. Here's our ring that holds the carburetor in place. And now I can just go ahead and... Alright, so here's the top of the carburetor. I'm going to take that screw out. At that point, I'm going to take that screw out, take both of those two screws out, and I'll be able to go ahead and take the entire throttle assembly out. I'm going to take this screw here out still. I'm pretty sure that's not the stock screw. I think it's just a screw somebody ran through here. I can wiggle my cables out of here. Alright. Now our carburetor assembly is completely off. My workbench is still in storage. I haven't cleared up enough room up here in Jacksonville yet for it. So let's see what we got. There's all of our parts. This is a spring that's going to go inside of here. It comes with a 195, 185, 175, 165 jet. Two different size drill bits. Our new emulsion tube, a washer, and here's our needle assemblies. Now, my bike is pretty much completely stock, so my intention is to go with a I have a 180 main jet in there now with a 42 slow jet. So the kit recommends you put a 45 slow jet in there. I'm going to go ahead and put a 45 slow jet in with the blue needle, the new emulsion tube. I will go ahead and set it just basically to default, and I am only going to drill out my slide with the 7/64 to begin with. I can always go bigger, I can't go smaller. So I'm going to put everything back in here because it's pretty windy and I don't want stuff to fly away. Alright, so I need to take the slide out. To take the slide out, we have to take this air cap off. So what we're going to do first is going to take these other three screws out and remove this. Now there is a spring under there, so when we go to take that out, we want to be quite careful with it. Keep in mind too, not all the gas will have been burned out yet. There's still going to be a little bit of gas in that fuel bowl. You'll see when we take the fuel bowl off the bottom. I'm very curious to see what in the world I have in here now, because the bike has been running fairly rich. I've gotten as low as 28.9 miles to the gallon on a full tank, and as high as 31 miles to the gallon. And it doesn't seem to matter how I ride it, that's what I get. That's a little crazy for a basically stock Evo FXR. So what I'm going to do is hold this down. Man, they don't tell you how windy Jacksonville is, that's for sure. I want to see how Jacksonville's not called the Windy City. Lift this up. Here's our old spring. I'm going to set this off to the side here. Here's our slide. Pull this out. I am pretty confident that should have been held in place. I guess it is. I guess it's held by the spring. That's interesting. Usually those lock in, has been my experience. What the hell have I got here? I have a D146 needle. I'm going to look that up, find out what the heck that is. Why was there no lock mechanism under here? I'm also going to look that up and see if there's supposed to be a lock mechanism, because I'll be honest, I really feel like there should be. That, or more likely, yeah, I am thinking that somebody installed this in there upside down, because that was sitting in there like so. I'll be able to go back on the video and see, won't I? But this should definitely go inside the spring. And this sits up here. Now, there's no washer or anything underneath this, which I find interesting. Unless that's supposed to be a washer down there. Or this is some kind of a dyno jet slide. I'm not sure. So let's see if this has already been drilled. Boy, the inside of my carburetor is filthy though. I foresee me cleaning my carburetor down really well. Let's not go getting these guys mixed up. Okay, so this slide has not been drilled out. Very good. Alright, so I'm going to go find out what the heck a D146 needle is, because that does not look like much of a friggin' needle. No wonder I was burning so much bloody fuel. So let's go check that out. Alright, so I looked it up, and yes, this D146 is a dyno jet needle. Just a big fat needle. I'm going to do a little more in-depth look a little later on this versus the blue and reds. For right now, I want to finish disassembling the carb so I can clean it real well. This is a stock slide, nothing fancy about it, but it is pretty dirty, so I am going to clean that. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and take my float bowl off. So I'm going to take all 4 of these screws out. And I noticed I have 4 different size screws in here, so that's part of the reason I bought new screws for it. Alright, with all 4 screws out the way, I can slowly work this guy off here. And I'm going to go properly dispose of this fuel. Alright, so here's our fuel bowl. Everything looks good in there. I definitely want to clean this down, so I'm going to pop this off here. This is our accelerator pump underneath here, so I'm going to take these 3 screws out as well and clean it out inside here. And I hate these Phillips heads, so I'm putting all nice Allen heads back in here when I reassemble this. There may be a little bit more fuel inside of this, which just got poured on my hand, so something to be aware of. There's our spring. I'm going to keep that. There's a little O-ring in here. Don't lose that little O-ring. Don't lose your spring. And be very gentle with this rubber diaphragm. Alright, so that's ready to be cleaned. I can go ahead and take... I don't have a replacement for the fuel bowl O-ring, so I'm going to leave the O-ring in there. Same thing with this O-ring down here for the... Yeah, there's garbage all over this, though. Now under here is our real meat and potatoes. Let's get you a better view. This is our main jet. In my case, I have a 180 in here. Our slow jet is down inside of here. And I have a 42. And that emulsion tube, of course, since this has a dyno jet kit, is going to be that stupid dyno jet emulsion tube that I'm going to get rid of. So I want to carefully remove the main jet. I'm going to need a bigger screwdriver for removing the emulsion tube. Although looking at it, it's all scratched up. I may as well just grab a pair of pliers and pull it out that way. This is so frustrating. Thankfully it's not in there too tight. This is our emulsion tube, and I'm going to again show you some differences between the YOST kit and the dyno jet. Now to remove the slow jet inside here, you are going to need a very long and skinny flathead. There's the needle jet, or the slow jet. And the last thing I want to do is go ahead and take my float valve out. So we'll remove the hinge, and I do have the four-sided valve in here. Good. So now I can clean all this out in here real well. This over here is your mixture screw, your idle mixture screw. I have no idea where that's set at, so in all honesty I'm just going to go ahead and remove it so I can clean out from inside of it as well. I do have a screw in there, and yeah, this is pretty dirty. There's all kinds of gunk in there. We got our little spring out. Alright. For now though, the next thing we need to do is go ahead and clean everything out real well. Both of these guys, spray everything out as best we can with some carb cleaner. Hopefully you can hear that clicking in there. That's that check valve in there. I want to make sure that that is nice and loose. So since this already had the dyno jet in it, yeah, it looks like my needle section has already been drilled out with at least a 1/8 inch. So I need to drill this to a 7/64. Well, I had every intention of drilling this oversized with a 7/64, but as is so often the case when I'm working on something, that's going to have to wait because I cannot find my hand drill, nor can I find the chuck to my drill press. So, we're going to continue with installation. So first thing we're going to do is I've got a 45 jet, a slow jet here. Let me make sure of this. Yes, 45 slow jet. Let's go ahead and reinstall it. Right down in there, nice and neat. Now you don't have to tighten these down crazy. Next we're going to install our emulsion tube. Which is so nicely a 5/16. And again, don't over tighten anything. And let's see. They say to go up one size on your main jet. So I have got a 180 that was in their stock. So I'm going to go to a 185. And we'll start there with our tuning. And of course it's going to be the very last one in there. Now I don't want to lose any of these other jets, so I'm going to put all them in over here. I will throw the dyno jet stuff in here, and as I said, I'm going to use the blue needle as I am basically stock. I have a feeling the 185 jet will probably turn out to be a bit much, and I'll probably end up backing it off to a 180, as Harleys tend to come fairly well jetted as far as their main jet goes. It's usually the slow jet that ends up being a little bit loose, or a little bit off. And that is a 1/4, so we'll just snug that against there. Alright, at this point we're ready to slide our needle back in, and I've got a really nice, I hope you can see this, got a real nice ring on around there, which tells me this has been sealing very well. I've had no problems with leakage, so I have no reason to doubt that. So I'm going to slide that in there. Get my hinge. Where'd my hinge go? Here it is. Alright, and then I'm going to get my calipers. Alright, so depress this, and I have the round float, so I'm supposed to be between 0.69 and 0.73. Let's see where we're at. I'm at 0.58, so I need to come up a little bit. So to come up on there, what I want to do is actually push the tab downward so that the float comes up. So I'm just going to push it down a little bit. Bounce it a couple times. Make sure I'm not compressing that plunger, and I'm pretty sure I just came up too high. Nope, I'm now at 0.694. Alright. So I'm just on the edge of it. I'm going to put it a little bit further in because my range is 0.69 to 0.223, I think it is. So I'd like to be somewhere around 0.72. .73. Let's bring it back a little bit. Now to bring it back up, I want to pull that tab toward me just a hair. Let's bounce that up a little bit. 0.71, that'll work for me. Alright, this stage we're ready to start putting the float bowl and all back on. And before you do that, make sure that your rod for your accelerator pump is in position. Otherwise that can be a real pain to get in. Just want to slide that into its little spot here. Carefully bring everything down in. And then just very gently wiggle it all into place. There you go. Now, like I said, I got new screws I'm putting in here. These are M4, 14mm long. These are stainless steel, so yes, I should put some anti-seize on here. But I know I'm going to be taking this on and off a few times over the next couple of days while I'm jetting my bike, tuning it. So I'm not going to worry about putting the anti-seize on right this second. Snug these all down. Next we want to put our pilot mixture screw in. Make sure you get that spring back under there, and then what you want to do is go down very lightly until it snugs up, and then I'm going to do 2.5 turns out. So half, 1, half, 2, half. Alright. Now we can go ahead and get our accelerator pumping all in place. Get our spring on there. Make sure our O-ring is still here. And this uses M4 by 10mm. I'm losing daylight here, so I'm trying to hurry. Alright. 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 Everything on the bottom is now done. Flip it over. And we can go ahead and drop our valve slide in. Make sure it's all in position. I'm going to take my blue slide. My E-clip is already in the center position. I need one of the washers, just one. Slide that over the needle. Slide that over the needle. Get it down into place. our finger in there, make sure we got our new spring. And then we go ahead and bolt our cap down. Now remember this one, keep in mind that this screw here has to have the throttle blade on it. These are M4 by 16s and the other 3. And that one will be an M4 by 18. Alright, I left my little rod cap here off. I'll put it back on when I take this back off again. Alright, at this point, we're ready to reinstall the carburetor. And reinstallation is just the reverse of removal, as they say. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt this back on the bike and then we'll fire it up.